Coming to the next tab, that is the animations tab. Now the animations tab is a tab which will help us animate each item or object that is there on the slide. So for example, on this particular slide there are two objects. One is the text box called pollution, the other is the text box which contains the text, let's save the environment. And applying an animation on this means that we will be able to animate each item separately. Let's see this happen. Suppose I am going to select this for this purpose. As soon as I select this text box, all the animations here become active. That means I am able to select them. So if you want, you can select any animation that is of our choice. So if you drop down the menu, you'll be able to see several animations that are predefined in PowerPoint. You can select any one of them. So maybe I will select to see something happening, I will select fly in. So you see that is the way the animation is going to work. Now as soon as you add animation on a slide, depending upon the number of items that you've got animation for, there is a certain count that you will be able to see on the left side. Okay, so at the moment it is 1 because there is one item which has got animation on this slide. Now why not make the animation available for the second part also? So I am going to click on that text box and click on fly in here, and that is the second part. That means the second item which has got the animation. So both these one by one now they are going to be animated or are going to be brought onto the screen. Now if you check this animations tab, along with these animations there is also on the right side a certain section or group which is called as timing. So this timing decides what is the duration after which the next item or the object should be populated on the screen, or whether it should be on a mouse click or not. So that option is available here. So when we say start, there are three options that are available. Either on click, that means that particular item will be brought onto the screen at the click of the mouse button or the enter key, or it will be brought onto the screen along with whatever previous item had come, or after whatever previous item had come. So along with the previous item, or after the previous item, or at the click of a button. So it is up to us to choose how we want it. Since it's the first slide and this is the first object that has come up, so the previous item will always be the loading of the slide. So once the slide is loaded, we can get the text. We should be ideally able to get the text. So I'm going to make it automated, and I'm going to say after previous. That means this particular slide, this particular text is going to be brought onto the screen after the previous activity was done. So if this is the first item, then the previous activity is the slide loading. And how long is it going to remain? That means this animation, how long is the animation going to last? So it's 0.5 of a second. So this gives you a number of seconds. I'm going to leave it like that. Now I'll come to the second object that I have here. And in this object also it says after previous. So after the previous. So the previous item for here is the pollution. And it's going to have an animation of 0.5 seconds. So I will leave it like that and click on the save button. Let's animate one more slide and see how it happens, so that we are able to see in the slideshow. I'm going to select the text box, come to animations tab, and maybe this time I will select a different type of animation. I will select shape, and shape is going to happen after the previous activity is done. So I'm selecting it accordingly, and the duration I will let it be. Next, I also would like that the content here in this text box also gets an animation. So how do we go about doing that? So for that, what I'm going to do is I select the entire text that is here, and from animation I can select any one animation that is of my choice. So suppose I will say wheel. So each of these bulleted points separately will come up as in the form of a wheel. Now if you look at this, if you select this, you can see that each item automatically gets populated. And how do we know it's getting populated automatically? By when we take a look at the timings group, where it says start with previous, so that means along with the pollution text getting populated, and the duration for which this loading should happen should be of 2 seconds. So that is what this means. So I have successfully been able to animate the first 2 slides. So I'm going to save this change and go back to the first slide and run the presentation and see if it works. That's the slide. See, we're able to see the animation that is happening. Now this is a transition which is taking place from one slide to another, and this population is called as the animation. This is transition. We did not put any animation from the third slide onwards, so whatever we had put before as transition remains, no animation is done. I hope you are able to understand the difference between animation and transition. Transition is when one slide moves to the other. That means one slide goes away and the next slide comes up. And animation, on the other hand, is how each item or object in a slide comes up on the screen. That is called animation. So there is a difference between these two. That is the end of our PowerPoint presentation that we have made so far.